The views and opinions expressed in the following program are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect those of KSMQ Public Service Media Incorporated or its assigns.
How do you define good fuel mileage? How about 1,200 miles per gallon? That's right. This vehicle, built by students from Alden-Conger High School, gets phenomenal fuel economy, and it runs on biofuel created right here in Minnesota. On this Farm Connections, I traveled to Alden to meet the creators of this amazing car and learn how farm commodities are helping to change the game on fuel economy. It's coming up right now on Farm Connections.
Welcome to Farm Connections with your host, Dan Hoffman.
Farm Connections on KSMQ, sponsored in part by the Cedars of Austin, a senior living community. We even have a retired farmers club. Independent, assisted, and memory care apartments. Learn more at cedarsofaustin.com. Will Mahler, the ag attorney, has been representing dairy farms in Minnesota, Iowa, and Wisconsin for 37 years. Will Mahler, the ag attorney's office is in Rochester, and Will is a proud partner of Farm Connections. Thanks, Will Mahler.
Nowadays, with rising gas prices and concerns over CO2 emissions, everyone seems concerned with fuel economy. Cleaner fuel sources and improved mileage will lead us to a brighter future. Students at Alden-Conger High School in Alden, Minnesota have taken this to heart and have committed themselves to a project that explores the upper boundaries of fuel efficiency. The result is a group of revolutionary vehicles that run on farm commodities, ethanol and biodiesel, and can travel hundreds of miles on a gallon of fuel. The team from Alden-Conger has competed internationally against other high schools and universities and come back victorious, earning first place in a North American super mileage competition. Let's meet this team of enterprising young people.
I think we can hear about and see and read about a lot of different environmental problems that exist. And I think right here with these students and the projects they're doing, we have incredible examples of how we can do things better in the future.
Jacob, this is pretty awesome, a super high mileage car. Have you traveled anywhere with it?
We've actually been down to Houston and up to Brainerd for our statewide competition. Houston is the National Shell Eco Marathon.
How'd you do?
We did really, really good. We've set all our own personal records this year. Down in Houston, we took first place with the E100 and first place with the biodiesel. Those are both national records. And the other two cars were gas. We took 10th. And regular diesel, we took second.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Isaac, what did you learn from the project?
Well, coming into it, I didn't know that much about motors. I just knew the generals, and now I know more about the insides of an engine and stuff like that.
What's the best miles per gallon so far?
1,700 something in juice car.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Yep.
Jordan, did you travel with the team?
Yes, I went down to Houston, Texas, and to Brainerd, and I'm the driver of the biodiesel, and I also drove in Brainerd also.
Does the biodiesel engine perform different than the gas or ethanol engine?
The gas is it's quicker, and the diesel takes longer to get up to speed and stuff, so it's different to drive.
Parker, did you travel with the team also?
Yeah, I went down to Houston, Texas, and then to Brainerd.
Have you driven the car?
No.
What's your job on the team?
I'm one of the team leaders on the biodiesel car. I'm the one who changes out the fuel bottles and makes sure they have proper no fuel gets out, and just make sure it all runs smoothly. And then I run the radio sometimes and tells them what time they're doing.
What's the radio for?
Just stay in contact to make sure they don't come in too late.
So the person in the car can actually hear by radio
Yeah.
and correspond to you.
Mm-hmm.
Brady, what's your job on the team?
I'm the driver of the blue gas car.
And what's the fuel in that one?
In Houston, we got 10th and we got 933 miles to the gallon. And in Brainerd, we had the top run out of the whole competition. We got 1,275. But in Houston, Texas, the most out of all the cars is like 3,000 miles per gallon.
Huge.
Yes.
Jacob, why are you doing this?
Well, I don't know, I've kind of always been involved and I like to work on stuff at home. And I've gone to the school my whole life. And when I was younger, I'd walk through the halls and like see the trophies and like the supermileage cars from past years. And like I'd always be like getting on the floor, like looking at them and stuff and be super interested. So like even on like the 5th and 6th grade, I was already talking to Mr. Bosma, like seeing if I could get involved early, but couldn't. So this is my 3rd year at it.
So you're learning mentoring and communication skills in addition to engineering?
Yeah, I get to, as a team captain, I get to kind of guide like the younger kids like where to go and what to work on.
Fantastic. What do you hope to do with the skills you learn on this project?
I'm planning on using the engineering skills and the mechanical skills to go to college to be an engineer.
And here's Drew. Drew, what's happening down here?
Not a whole lot, just having some fun.
You did a great job. It sounded like you were coasting some of the time.
Yep.
So what do? You shut the engine off?
Get about 30 miles an hour, a little under, and shut it off and coast as long as I can.
Well, great ride. Good job.
Thank you.
Now let's meet the teacher behind this team, David Bosma of Aldenconger High School. He's a teacher of chemistry, physics, and applied engineering, and serves as an inspiration and coach to the team. David, what grade do you first get the students?
This year I had 10th through 12th grade, and some will even go in at 9th grade, whatever works on their schedules.
And so when they come into the class, how do you introduce them to applying their skills to this project?
Well, for the applied engineering, again, they're learning the drafting part of it. The physics part and physical science, we're using Newton's laws, force, mass, and all that type of stuff. The key here is building cars that are extremely light because, again, Newton's laws apply here. And I always say I bring a lot of the science in it. That's why we do so well in our cars.
Well, you have done well. Tell us about some of the trophies and awards.
Well, this year we competed in Houston and we got first in the E100 with 1,576 miles per gallon.
Wow.
And then in the biodiesel here, we got 1,700 miles per gallon. And those are our North America record. We hold the North America record. That means teams from Brazil, Canada competed, and we're competing against colleges too. So, and then we went up to Brainerd and we took first in the E85 with 953 miles per gallon. And then they didn't have a biodiesel class up there, but we did take first in the other gas categories.
You're actually competing with college programs?
Yeah. 2 years ago we lost to the University of Illinois by about 6 or 7 miles per gallon. This year, we again, with 3rd place, we would have been in 3rd place in the regular gas with the E100 down in Houston. So,
what's your goal by the time the student's been with you for a semester or a year? What do you want that student to know when he leaves or she leaves that they didn't know when they came into the class?
One is skills, learning how to weld, know how to tear apart an engine, learn the physics and part of it. Again, some of these guys will learn how to work with fiberglass, carbon fiber, we're working with that. I'm learning how to work with that too. So it's fun for me besides the kids learning too. So,
what's the neatest success story you've got in your program?
Well, the neatest this year was when we got the North America record of 1576. Because we were down there last year and we got 1,020 and we jumped it to 1576. And with the idea that the kid knows how to drive now down there, I'm looking for 2,000.
That's a neat goal.
Yep.
Take me into the shop. I want to see what's going on and how you did this. Brady, you're using computer-assisted drafting, correct?
Yep.
Do you like computers?
Yeah.
What's cool about it?
With this program right here, you can make anything that you wanted to, anything that you put your mind to.
Is it more expensive or less expensive to do it on the computer versus cutting up metal and welding it?
It's a lot less expensive doing it on the computer first, and then you can actually make the materials a certain material and put a stress test on it and see where your stressful points are on the car, and so you don't have to keep cutting up pieces and making sure they fit and all that stuff.
Saves time?
Yes, a lot of time.
So once you design a concept or a design, you draw it. Do you have to sell it to the team or your instructor, or what happens after you've got the drawing done?
Well, the captains kind of have it in their head what their car is going to look like, and then they kind of put it on a piece of paper and kind of explain what it's going to be, and then I kind of take that drawing and put it on here and see what it would look like.
It's looking like a nice high mileage vehicle.
Yes.
And then eventually you have somebody fabricate or design it, so you're learning manufacturing skills as well.
Yep.
Well, great. Show me where the welding happens. Drew, the last time I saw you, you were driving a car.
Yeah.
Now what are you doing?
Well, in aluminum, it's a little bit different than steel, just even the equipment you're using. This one's aluminum one, different spool and all that, different arc, different gas.
Different melting point on the
Yeah.
metals? Why are you using aluminum instead of steel?
It's lighter weight, plus it has the durability of steel.
So when you graduate from high school, will you take some of the skills you've learned in the super high mileage car project with you?
Oh yeah, I've learned a lot, team leadership, even just mechanical wise, welding and working with equipment.
How will the things you learned in high school in this project help you there?
It'll make it so I have almost like an edge over the other people, be able to start out at a higher level than everybody else.
Sounds like you learned to appreciate competition in this project as well.
You always gotta have a little bit of competition edge.
Well, good luck.
Thank you.
Hey guys, why is the engine out of the car?
This is the one we tore out of the red car here. We're taking it off and gonna change some stuff for next year.
Change some stuff?
Yep, this year it's pretty much a stock engine, and next year we're gonna try to do a little bit better.
Stock isn't good enough for you?
Nope.
All right, what do we got here?
This is the starter gear, the starter solenoid, and this is the starter that spins the flywheel to start it.
Okay, straight pipe does what?
Straight pipe out, less compression, so we're not using power to push our exhaust out.
Sounds noisy.
It sounds nice.
We're gonna hear it soon. How about right here?
This is our clutch. This is the gear that drives the chain off to the back tire. Once these mechanisms fly out, once it gets higher idle, then it engages the whole engine, and we're actually driving the back wheel.
A centrifugal?
Mm-hmm.
Centrifugal clutch. Awesome. This is pretty neat. What's different about this engine compared to the car and engine that Drew was driving?
Drew had a gasoline. This is a diesel. This is built a lot more heavier duty. This engine itself, as it sits right now, weighs 52.5 pounds.
Wow.
Versus the Briggs or the Honda weighs about 10 pounds.
And you're using a different fuel.
Yes.
Tell us about the fuel you're using in this one.
This one is a diesel or a biodiesel we run with it. And the way we change it is our injection timing, when we're going to inject it versus for the biodiesel versus the diesel.
You said biofuel. What's the difference between biodiesel, biofuel, and just straight diesel?
Our diesel is going to be a little more efficient, but our biodiesel we're burning those soy diesel. So that's a renewable fuel, and we're not using our fossil fuels.
Do you know what percent the blend is?
This is B20.
Do you always use a 20% blend in the biodiesel?
In different competitions, we use different fuels. So in this competition, when it was in the biodiesel class, you use 100% bio.
100%.
Mm-hmm.
And the performance was?
Very well. Took first place. And we set a national record.
In North America, right?
North American record.
Awesome. Well, I want to hear this thing run.
We'll fire it up. Ready?
Tell me about the bearings in this.
These are actually high performance bearings, ceramic bearings. Good for coasting, less friction than a normal bearing.
And what happens when you're rolling along and you need to stop?
Then we got our clamp brakes right here, easily accessible for the driver there. We're coasting along, we're braking, or if he lets off a second, our tire's spinning and he has to quick stop for something in the road, he can stop it quick.
Awesome. What have you got up here?
This is our fuel bottle. We usually only use about that much, like when you go out for a run, but then it's measured by fuel displacement. They weigh our fuel to go with at Brainerd, and then when we come back, they weigh it again. In Houston, it's a little more high-tech. They also take the temperature of it, because when it warms up or it cools down, it can shrink. Or
the volume changes? Yep. You've got a neat product here. And Josh, what are you doing?
I'm cleaning the car.
Why?
So it's more aerodynamic, more smoother of wind, no wind resistance.
So it's that little detail that helps you guys win, doesn't it? Good job. So David, you've got your portable shop. Tell us about it.
Well, about 2 years ago, we were getting full in our regular shop, so we decided to buy a trailer so we could store stuff in here, and we also made it so we could actually work in here. If you can see the shelving and stuff, which is an important part of it. Right now it's full with cars in here, but when we get some room in here, we can actually work in here and do some stuff in here.
Earlier you said you hook it up to electricity and heat?
Yep. In the wintertime we need heat, otherwise it's cool. We put bales around here to keep the heat in. Maybe next year we might do something else, but this is really a saver for room and stuff. Otherwise we had to go stuff in my room, other places. Now it's in one location.
So this trailer and shop transport the cars also to the competitions?
Yeah, we take this one to Brainerd because this is a big one. And it's nice because other schools come over and ask us if we have supplies and stuff, because we are basically a shop, all but the welders, it's not in here, so.
This is terrific, and thanks for sharing today, opening your shop, your classrooms, and also the knowledge of the students. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for coming.
The future belongs to young people, a fact that's not lost on developers of cleaner, more efficient fuels. Tim Rudnicki of the Minnesota Biofuels Association stopped by the Alden-Conger High School to explain how Minnesota farmers are instrumental in the development of alternative fuel sources.
You said something as we walked in the shop at Alden-Conger High School about driving here and through the fields and down the roads. What was your observation?
Well, my observations, Dan, is first of all, we've got some great fertile soil that's has been planted for the most part, and we're looking forward to a good crop out there. I think as I think a little bit further forward to the summer and to the actual crops that are growing and what I witnessed last year for the most part, I know the drought was tough on a lot of farmers, but where we did see a good corn crop, we witnessed what I think of as creation of wealth. And there's no other energy source that regenerates itself like crops, like corn, like what the farmers of Minnesota produce for us here in Minnesota and for the rest of the Midwest and the country, in fact.
Well, as you know, and perhaps our audience doesn't know, corn is an annual crop. So every year it's planted, every year it's harvested. Unlike perennials, which maybe are harvested every second year or are part of a 2 or 3 year cycle. So every year this crop is harvested, and some of it goes into biofuels. What are some examples?
When we think of biofuels, often there's biodiesel we talk about, and there's also ethanol that's used in regular gasoline. It's used to make E85 and other mid-level blends like E15 and E30 and so on. The corn itself provides starch. And maybe if I step back a minute, sometimes there's confusion about what is used to make ethanol or how much corn is used to make ethanol. And quite simply, the corn plant is like a solar collector. And the plant material stores energy, the biofuel producers unlock the energy in the plant. So that comes from the sun, that comes from the carbon dioxide the plant sucks in. Biofuel producers unlock the energy in the plant, and then we can have ethanol, for example, as an alcohol, and that's used to create a variety of biofuel blends. In fact, some of the test vehicles here are running off of E85. So that's 85% ethanol and 15% gasoline. That, and now E15, which is available in some parts of the state. That can be used in cars that are 2001 or newer. All these fuels are using regenerative, renewable biofuels.
Well, when I pull into the pump and I've got some choices, why would I want to choose E15?
If we look at the big picture of what's happening in the environment, the more biofuel we use, the better we'll be doing. We'll be doing something better for the environment. And by that I mean something as simple as this. Back to the corn plant, which is a solar collector. It's using the sunlight to make energy. It's taking in carbon dioxide. The biofuel includes the energy in that plant. And when these vehicles release emissions like the carbon dioxide, it goes into the atmosphere. And if we plant those plants again the next season, they suck the carbon dioxide back in. So we have a regenerative, renewable cycle on that front. And that is another key point with biofuels. Regenerative, renewable. That is something you don't have with a fossil fuel. A finite fossil fuel is just that, it's finite. As long as we have farmers in Minnesota that are growing crops, we will have, material for food, fiber, feed, and fuel.
Boy, some great information. One thing that I would like to ask you about, you talked about biodiesel. Mm-hmm. How is that different than ethanol? Different source, different plant?
Biodiesel does use a different source of plant material. So ethanol uses, to make ethanol, biofuel producers work with enzymes to break down the plant material and create starch. And the yeast eat the starch and they emit alcohol. And that's what's used to make ethanol. And to make biodiesel, soy oil is actually used. And there's more of a chemical process that's used to extract the various components from the soy oil that's used to make biodiesel.
Wow, there's a lot of science to this. Maybe some of these students behind us will be scientists or ethanol plant operators or biodiesel plant operators. Any last comments, Tim? This is extremely interesting.
Well, I think you're right in noting the importance of what these students are doing here now and for the future. And I think as long as we find this balance in working with the farming community and crops and looking at our biofuel needs, we'll find that balance. And I think the leaders that can help in that direction are right here.
I totally agree. Thanks for joining us on Farm Connections.
Thank you, Dan.
Dan Erickson is a Freeborn County farmer who serves as a representative of the Minnesota Corn Growers Association. He's also an alumnus of the Alden Conger Super Mileage program. He visited his alma mater to share his insights on the importance of supporting youth learning experiences and developing markets for farm products.
Why is it important for these students to learn the skills they are and also to learn about biofuels?
Well, I mean, we need people in every walk of life. I mean, if we're going to keep going in the future and keep evolving as a country, I mean, some of the things like having higher mileage is something that's going to be really important going forward. And so look at the skills that some of these kids are learning from that. But not only that, you know, the computer skills and the building. I mean, we need iron workers. We need, you know, people in every walk of life. And so they're learning a lot of different skills.
Well, as a farmer, you produce both corn and soybeans, correct?
Correct.
So when you take your product to town, what happens next when you're turning it into cash?
Well, I mean, obviously we're going to feed livestock. I'm actually a livestock producer myself, so we're going to feed the livestock. But then there's still enough corn that we need other uses of it. So some of that may be corn going into ethanol, soybeans going into biodiesel, or even some of the food grade stuff. So, you know, in order to make the whole thing work and use up all the supply we have, we're going to have to use all these different entities together.
Well, when you talk about supply, I remember the time when 100 bushels was a really, really big yield. And now if a farmer gets 100 bushels in our area, He's devastated. He's disappointed.
Yeah, times are definitely changing, but you know, I mean, we're pushing a limit. I mean, the goal is still to get you know, close to maybe 300 bushel the acre at some point in time here. You know, I mean, we got varieties that are easily producing, you know, over 200 bushel the acre if you get you know, adequate weather and water and different things like that. But
well, with that doubling from 100 to 200 in really just a few short years, do you see any problems if we aren't using biofuels with supply and pricing?
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, that's the whole thing. I mean, as we keep producing more, we still need to find more uses, and you know, so the biofuels is a perfect example of, you know, something that we can use ourselves, but yet use up the corn supply also.
Well, it's really neat that you're supporting this program and that you're helping financially with it, because I've really seen some great growth in these students.
Yeah, and that's what it is. I mean, to see these kids do so well is really great. And then, you know, for us in agriculture, in a rural community like Alden, to see a nice small town bring a program like this together, I mean, it's great to see.
Never underestimate rural people, right?
Yes, yeah, correct.
Thank you, Dan.
Thanks a lot.
Thanks for joining us on Farm Connections. If anything, this episode has shown that all of us are connected in one way or another to agriculture, whether it's through our food, feed, fiber, or the fuel that gets us through our day. Tune in again next time on Farm Connections.